How's it going, everybody? Kalen Thornton here, aka Mr. Teapots. We're going to do some trimming today. I'm going to show you how to center it on the wheel again, and how to trim in a foot, and how to get rid of extra clay that we don't need. Everything you need to know about trimming. Well, maybe not everything you need to know about trimming, but as much as I can think of that you need to know trimming. There is learning afoot, if you will. First thing we want to, or at least I want to show you, are just my tools of choice for this. We have our flexible metal rib. Okay. We have a red rubber rib. These ones from Mud Tools are fantastic. I just love how flexible the red ones are, especially. And there's all kinds of different hardnesses and different colors. So highly recommended, Mud Tools. I got my needle tool. That'll come in handy here in a little bit. And then these are kind of preference. There's a zillion different tools out there that'll help you with trimming. I know that one company, actually, I believe it's Mud Tools again, makes something called the Trim All tool, which is what I have my students use in the classroom. But this is actually what I prefer to use, which is just your basic pear tool and your basic ribbon or loop tool, whatever you call it. I've always called it a loop tool. So, yeah, tools of choice. And then we're off. Okay, next choice of yours. If you don't have any fancy centering and gripping mechanisms, such as a Giffen grip, you're going to want to center this thing on the wheel. You can put a bat down if you want to, but that is not essential. I do have bat pins here. And using a bat, there is a way to kind of get suction so you don't have to stick globs of clay to the side, but it's a little sketchy, so I don't recommend it for beginners. I'm just going to go right on my wheel head here because, as you see, I have these circles that'll help me tell where the center of my wheel is. Okay, here's what we're trimming today. It's the bowl that I made. This is Rocky Mountain Clay's Speckled Buff Clay, my favorite clay to throw with. If you haven't tried it out yet, you should be. Okay, and as you can see, I have some throwing marks here and some fingerprints and stuff like that. So that's something that could be smoothed out. I would recommend doing that either before you put it down on the wheel to start trimming it. You could take a sponge to it, especially up here at the top, because we're going to be trimming the bottom part of this, pretty much from here up. Well, right now it's down, but from here to here, we're going to be trimming that, okay? So I'm going to flip it, okay? And before you do anything else, okay, step backwards on your pedal to ensure that your wheel is off, just in case. Okay, step all the way back on your pedal, on your wheel, okay? And then turn it on so that you don't send your project flying, because if this goes flying, your option is to start over. And that makes some people sad. So, all right, so I'm using these rings that I have here on the wheel to try to eyeball it into the center. And sometimes you get lucky. Okay, but I'm gonna guess that's where the center is. And I'll be able to tell here shortly. Okay, some things to keep in mind. If this was thrown off center, it's gonna be kind of wonky to trim. So we kind of have to decide which part is more important to center. If it was thrown on center, you just keep in mind that this area here, just right underneath where the foot's gonna go, this is where I'm watching to make sure that it's centered. This here, if that doesn't look centered, that's okay, because we're gonna end up trimming some of this anyways. A lot of times if people forget to do their undercut, they're gonna wanna trim a lot of this off anyways. So the part that we care about being center, I would say, is right here, just underneath it. Now I carved in a fancy foot ring here. So I'm going to leave a lot of this. So I care that both parts are center, but I know that I threw this on center. So, all right. So first let's test to see. Start your wheel slow. Okay. and I can see that this is not currently centered. The way that I can tell is if I set my finger up here and it kind of touches my finger, touch, 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 okay, I know this is not centered. Okay, so a couple things you can do. If you have really good timing, where it goes touch, touch, and stop the wheel where it touches your finger, and then scoot it away from that point. And what you do is you just try to look for something characteristic on there as it spins around. So like I have a little texture here. So if that's where it was off center, I would try to fix that. Okay, it's kind of hard to eyeball. Okay, still just a little bit off center. Okay, this is just, I think it's more difficult than it really needs to be. Okay, so I'm going to show you another trick using a similar method. Okay, and I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm going to very lightly use that instead of my finger to do the part where it goes touch, touch, touch. And I'm going to stop my wheel. I'm going to find where the needle tool scratched and push it just barely away from that point. Okay, smooth that out and then do it again if needed. I don't need it, that is center. Okay, and again, the way that I can tell is I kind of have my finger resting here, and if it was off center, my finger wouldn't be moving. And it's sitting pretty still. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so that's a couple ways to do it, but I'm going to show you my favorite way. Okay, and I actually learned this from Tim C. If you haven't checked out Tim C on YouTube or on Instagram, I'm not sure where else you can find him, but check out Tim C. Clay, S-E-E. The guy's a genius, and this is where I learned this from. So I'm going to start my wheel and kind of let the bowl rest in my left hand. I'm not putting really any pressure with my left hand at all, just kind of letting it drag there. Then with my right hand, I'm going to pat. I'm going to start off a little more aggressively first, and then speed up with more gentle pats. And I get the same result much faster. Now this method takes some practice. I've seen my students come up to it and they just do this. And that's not going to get you anywhere. Let the clay actually gently brush your left hand. Let the wheel or the bowl gently brush your left hand. More aggressive, and then speed it up a little bit with more gentle pats. Okay. Clear as mud. Hopefully that's a little more clear. I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, so push it way off center. It's going to rest in my hand. A little more aggressive pats. Speed it up just a little bit with gentle pats. Okay, like I said, this takes practice, everyone, so be patient with yourself. Give this a try. I would recommend maybe trying it with something that you're not as fond of first, just in case something goes wrong, and continue to practice that. Actually, even better idea, take a bucket, your throwing bucket, okay, and put just a little bit of water in it so that it has a little bit of weight to it, and use that to pat into place. Okay, if it goes flying, the worst is that it makes a mess. You don't ruin a project. So take your water bucket for throwing and put some water in it. Not a lot, but just enough to give it some weight so that you can try this out. Okay, there's a few other methods, okay, like the bump method, which is kind of difficult. I just wait for it to hit my thumbs and I kind of bump it into place. Okay, and there's the placing method where I pick it up and I set it in the middle of the wheel, but this takes some finesse, and you just have to know what pressure to apply and how to let it slide through your fingers. There's a lot of ways to do this, but highest recommendation is either the first one with the needle, just like I showed you, or the tapping method. I think that is fastest and most consistent.